So first of all, it's important for everyone to understand that sharing CFX with others is entirely optional. In fact, we know that many of you and many of your friends are attracted to the platform because of the fact that sharing CFX with others is optional. And there are very specific reasons for that. Now, in some cases, people are genuinely busy with other careers and family responsibilities, and all of their time is really accounted for, and they're not prepared to or interested in allocating time out of their schedule to create a second business from home. But the majority of the time, the reason people choose not to share anything with anyone, regardless of the project or the product line, is not based on their schedule. It's based on other reasons. And I want to talk about the reasons why one may choose to share. And I want to talk about the reasons why one may choose not to share. And then I want to break down a very simple model for you. If you're interested in benefiting from the bull capital in the CFX business model, which can create some absolutely explosive opportunities for yourself and for those around you, we'll talk exactly in the most efficient way that can be done. We'll talk about some financial principles that are at the heart of why one would want to take this second optional action, and how anyone that's really amassed any substantial wealth in their life has definitely taken advantage of these two wealth principles. The principles are leverage, and the second is compounding. Now, many people ask you if there is an opportunity to compound in the CFX platform, and of course there is. Anytime that you move from one particular trade package to a larger trade package, essentially what you've done is you've compounded your growth over that particular interval of time. So for example, if you're moving from one trade package to another, and you're doing that every 4 weeks, once a month, well, you're compounding monthly. And there are some very significant benefits to allowing yourself that extra profit as you move through the trade package ladder. As far as leveraging goes, one can leverage themselves in either time or money, and one can leverage themselves with a great deal of success with either time or money. However, to leverage money, you typically need to have a lot of money. A few $1,000s or even $100,000 typically isn't going to get the job done if you're really looking to create abundance for yourself. The way the standard income generating model is accessed and used around the world is very simple. And that is that you have units of time that you trade for money, and many people choose to get further education, or they specialize, or they apprentice. And the reason one would do such a thing is, of course, to increase your worth per hour. So the more that you're worth per hour, the more that you're going to gain when you're trading your units of time for units of money. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's made the world work for many, many years for the 95%. However, the top 1% and 2% income earners on the planet, those are not the models that they follow. They leverage themselves, and sometimes it's time they're leveraging, and sometimes it's money they're leveraging, and sometimes it's both. So I'm going to show you a time leveraging model that, regardless of your financial situation, you can put to work for you right now, and you can create results that most would look at and say, well, that's absolutely impossible. That's unbelievable. And I'm going to show you how to break a formula down into its most basic and elemental steps. When you extrapolate that basic formula over and over, in other words, when you leverage yourself, some of the results that you can create for yourself, well, they're truly life-changing. So we're going to blast through this information really quickly. First of all, let's talk about the benefits. We talked about creating a secondary income source. Many people, especially right now, when we're dealing with this pandemic economy and so much uncertainty that's happening all around us, and many of you probably have people that matter to you, people that you care about, people that you'd consider friends, that perhaps could be having a difficult time sleeping right now because of so much uncertainty, or worse, because they already know for sure they've been downsized, or for sure positions will no longer be needing them for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even longer. So there's a real genuine need for individuals to create a secondary income source because their primary is either stunted or has been eliminated altogether. And then the opportunity to replace or turn that secondary into a primary income source is absolutely key for many. Now, most people believe this type of thing, of course, is pure fantasy, that you can't get involved in a home-based business project and in a relatively short period of time replace a professional income. And in most cases, they're right. You can't. You certainly can't do that without proper guidance and without proper coaching and without the same kind of effort and action that you would have put into your primary income source. A lot of people take a look at home-based business and then they put a bit of an effort into their home-based business that would get them fired in their day job and then wonder why it didn't work. Well, if you put the same energy and the same enthusiasm, the same determination that you do that got you your permanent employment or your career, there's absolutely no doubt that you would not only survive in your home-based business, but you would probably thrive as well. And then the last thing we've talked already in regards to leverage, this really is the ultimate game changer when it comes to home-based business. And when you hear some statistics about the sheer number of millionaires that get created from businesses from home, network marketing, this is really the success model, the financial principle at work that's creating that abundance for those people. A lot of times, in fact, you'll ask leaders in different home-based business or network marketing companies how they created the results they did, and lots of times you won't even get a clear and coherent or logical answer from them because they can't really put their finger on what created the success. All that they know is that they created or took some very massive action, very significant action, and then that grew to ultimately create the success that they are currently enjoying or were enjoying at that particular point in time. Well, the principle is really what was creating those results. So this is really based on a formula of following a system. And if you have some retail business experience, you understand the importance of systems. An effective system can make or break the business that you are either an employee of or the business that you own. And many people jokingly say that when you buy a McDonald's franchise, you're buying real estate and you're buying a business system. In fact, you're buying such a good business system that you can put your $1 million plus investment in the hands of teenagers and it can run seamlessly and smoothly. And that's a really good business system. That's a well-executed system and it's a well-managed and designed system. So let's talk a little bit about the concerns. What holds people back? Because the promise of financial success, if you promised anyone an opportunity within a calendar year or even half a calendar year to completely change their financial life, most people would be absolutely thrilled. But there are things that hold them back, things that create reservation in everyone's mind. Let's talk about those for a minute. One of them would be judgment, receiving judgment from those within your sphere of influence, those that you would consider peers, and certainly from those that you look up to. And the other idea for many people of starting something that ends up hanging over their head as a failure is a real significant deterrent. And so if you've tried things to create some success, some change in your life that haven't worked for you, and this could be fitness related, it could be lifestyle related, it could be a motivational or spiritual or psychological. It doesn't always have to be financial. But if you've tried things that haven't worked for you and that hung over you in an unsettling way, then that can certainly be a deterrent. Of course, many mega achievers, they believe, of course, that there is no such thing as failure and that obstacles are something that you should celebrate because it's not without obstacles that enable you to create solutions to solve problems, and it's the solving of those problems that propels you forward. If you really think about it, it's the failures in your life that have really spurred you on. And as ridiculous as that may sound to some people, it's the mistakes that most people make that give them pause to consider what other options they could have chosen. And then that enlightens another path forward. Oftentimes, when you're met with a challenge and you meet that challenge successfully immediately, which happens in life often, you don't actually learn anything from that experience, because in the back of your mind, you were never forced to. You just assumed that you had the correct answers the whole time. And I have personal experience with that myself, where the first couple of businesses that I attempted to build just ended up being huge successes. And then I adopted a belief, one I think probably would surprise no one, is that whatever I choose to try is just going to work out, because that's what my past experience had taught me. And it wasn't until a little later that I tried other projects and other business ventures, and they were complete and total failures, that I realized, oh, okay, well, I guess there was an element of luck or an element of good timing to the first couple of things that I had done, but that's not the way it's always going to work every single time I try something. And of course, this feeling of awkwardness or fearfulness. We need to remember again, as far as our base tribal roots go, is that we're pack animals. Human beings are pack animals. And remember what happens if you get shunned from the pack 5 and 6 and 7,000 years ago. It probably in most cases meant certain death. If you get expelled from the tribe and you have to survive on your own, you're probably going to perish. And so there's a real base fear of that kind of judgment and that kind of potential risk that comes from putting yourself out in a position of potential criticism. So I want to share something with you now that will be available for your change. So this is a standalone website, and you'll get the URL for this site very soon. And this site is the home for 3 different videos. That's the only purpose for this, nothing else. It's simply so that 3 very short and straight to the point videos can be very easy for you to access and for anyone else to access. And the very first is going to be a 90-second video that introduces your friends to the concepts we just talked about, compounding and leverage. And what it does is essentially sets the table for an 8-minute overview of the CFX product only. So this is in regards to the technology, the traders, the programmers, all of the EA development and ongoing management and maintenance that makes this particular project so fruitful for everyone who uses it. And then below that will be a sharing video. This would be the rewards plan. This is 12 minutes long. So when you add all of these 3 together, you're sitting right around the 20-minute mark. It becomes something that's very easy to share, and it's very easy for then you to follow up with as well. So I'm going to walk through a very basic example of how I would share this particular platform with someone. And how I would share it with someone, I want to be respectful of our last topic for conversation, which was the anxiety that many people face when they're sharing anything with anyone. In other words, when they're potentially setting themselves up to be criticized or rejected, and that awkwardness that they feel when they're doing something that's outside of their comfort zone. There is a way that you can share this. There's a way you can share anything without feeling awkward or uncomfortable or vulnerable. The first thing you need to remember is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with one of your friends looking at information that you're offering them and them choosing not to pursue or get involved in a particular project. There's actually nothing wrong with that at all. So it's really important that you separate, you disconnect from the outcome. In other words, yes, I love the look of this project, or no, that I'm not interested in this project, and you're completely okay with either. And you really need to emotionally separate yourself from the outcome. There can't even be any animosity or frustration or bitterness when a good friend of yours chooses not to see something the same way that you see it, because there's actually absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so if you find that you're able to manage emotionally when a friend gets involved, and also when a friend doesn't get involved, and it's water off a duck's back for you, well, this whole process will start to become a lot more fun for you. A lot of the anxiety of sharing, not worrying about the outcome, is just all it's going to go away. And this will not be a stressful circumstance for you at all. So what I focus on doing is, first of all, this is a platform that I use with my warm market. And the way one obviously would define warm market versus cold market is your warm market is anyone that you essentially know on a first name basis. Cold market is exactly that. They're total strangers. So this is a warm market-based platform. But it does not mean that you cannot also develop skills at turning people into your warm market very quickly and very easily, and then still using this particular site when it goes live for you. So it's warm market-based because it all hinges around something that I like to refer to as a rapport-based favor. So, for example, Ken is in the room, and Ken is a friend of mine. I've known him for a number of years. I could phone my friend Ken, and in probably 60 to 90 seconds, get a commitment from Ken to have a look at this information. But before we talk about that, very quickly, some of you, when I talk to a lot of young people these days, and it pains me to admit that I can't think like young people think anymore, that I probably think more closely to where my parents think than the way my nieces and nephews think. Although maybe that's a blessing in disguise as well. But regardless of your position on whether you can think like young people think or not, a lot of the young people that I talk to and know personally, they don't call their friends. They're always using social media and texting. And for them, it feels really strange to pick up the phone and call a friend. At least that's how it's been referred to by me. And if that's the case, you can do this system just as effectively by sending text messages to friends. But ultimately, you need to be able to speak with someone because you need to be able to get, I think, in my opinion, that audio feedback from them. So if you are, let's say, under 25 years old, and you're listening to this, the way you would probably do things is reach out to your friends on whatever social media platform you use and say, hey, how are things going? And listen, have you got 2 minutes for a quick phone call? And you've just received permission for your phone call, and now you don't have to worry about it. So now you're back to the same place the rest of us are, who are not scared to pick up the phone and talk to a friend. So when you're phoning your friend, very simply, you are going to, in my case, I phoned my friend, and Ken, can you unmute yourself? Let's do a really quick role play. And if you can't unmute yourself, I'll unmute you. There we go.
Okay,
You're unmuted, dude.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Excellent. Okay, so listen, we're going to do a role play together, okay?
Sure.
Now, you can be very easy to work with, and you can comply to my requests, or you can be indifferent, or you can be really difficult. It really doesn't matter to me, okay?
Okay.
All right. Just keep in mind we are friends, and so we're operating within that construct, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a phone call, and you're gonna answer. Ring.
Hello?
Ken, how are you doing, John?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a lot of years.
Okay, now just as a caveat, if it's been years, I would send him a message first. I wouldn't make sure my first contact with him over years was for me to pitch him something. Yeah, it's certainly been a long time. So tell me, things are good. Life is joy filled.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Everything's going well.
That's awesome, dude. I'm really glad to hear it. Is there anything that you're not happy with, or anything that could be better?
Well, I could always make more money.
That's funny. Yeah, you must have some kind of sixth sense because, listen, I'm phoning you to make you aware of a platform that I've just started using, a project I started working on just recently, and I need a small favor.
Okay, sure. What is it?
I've got basically an 8-minute video. It's an overview of the project, and I would really like you to have a quick look at it. And if you can manage that, have you got the time for that?
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. So then what I'll do, if it's okay with you, I'm going to give you this URL, and I'm going to call you. If you have time now, I'm going to call you back in 10 minutes.
Well, I can't do it right now, but I can definitely check it out. You can call me back in a few hours.
Awesome. Okay, here's what I'm going to do then. I'm going to call you back in a few hours. I'm not going to send the URL until I know that you're available to watch it. And the only reason is I just want to call you back and ask you 2 questions afterwards, and getting the answer to those 2 questions will really help me. So why don't I call you in a couple of hours, and when you're free then, I'll fire this URL off to you, okay?
Sounds good.
Perfect. So that would be the end of that call. And we'll talk about why I did what I did there in just a moment. So now we're going to do another scenario, Ken, where you say, yeah, you've got time right now. Okay. So Ken, have you got 8 minutes right now to review something?
I do.
That's awesome, dude. So I'm going to send you a website, and you'll notice at the top of the website will be an image, and there's a play button. That's only a 90-second overview. It's going to introduce you to a couple concepts that if cash flow is an issue, you're going to love hearing about those concepts. And then below that, I just want you to have a look at the second video, and it's going to say success for rookies on it. And you hit the play button on that. That's 8 minutes long. I'm going to call you in 10 minutes. And I just got a couple of questions, as I mentioned earlier, for you, okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Okay, and scene. So thanks, Ken. I really appreciate it. So the reason, first of all, the reason why I took the approach that I did when Ken didn't have time is the same reason that most of you are fearful to share anything with anyone. And that is you don't want to be judged. You don't want to be labeled. So what's going to happen, for example, let's role play through a scenario. If I gave Ken a URL, and you can give me your feedback on this, Ken, whether you think I'm on base or off base. I give a URL to Ken, and he's going to get it in 2 or 3 or 4 hours. He's going to get to watching the short video. But what typically happens is life typically happens. Things happen. People phone. Suggestions are made. There's things to do. And in 4 hours comes and goes, and he may not always, but may not have had a chance to watch those videos. Is that fair, Ken? We'll just assume he said, yeah, that's fair. And all of you can play along with me, role play as well. So what happens is I phone back in 3 or 4 hours, and he's going to say, oh, John, I'm really sorry. I just haven't had a chance to watch that yet. Just give me a couple more hours and I'll get to it. No problem. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to wait a couple of hours. I'm going to call back in 2 hours, and guess what's going to happen? Not always, but often the same thing. He hasn't had an opportunity to get to them yet. And so what's starting to happen, one of two things. One, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable because I feel like I'm bothering him, A. Or B, I'm starting to get my nose out of joint because he's not doing what he said he was going to do. And neither one of those feelings are helpful for you. They don't help you or serve you in any possible way. And so how do you solve that? It's so easy. You solve it the way that I did with one single sentence. I'm not going to send this to you until I know you have time right away. And the way that I'm certain that you're going to watch it is I'm going to call you back in 2 minutes. And before I even sent it to you, I told you that I'm going to follow up and ask you 2 questions, which is going to do what? It's going to force you to watch an 8-minute video. It's just too easy. So that's the process, very simply. So what would happen at that point, I would simply phone Ken back, and I'm going to ask him the 2 questions. So Ken, if you can unmute yourself again, I'm going to ask you those 2 questions. I think I offended him because he left the call. There we go.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. That's why.
Yeah, I apologize. The room's locked. Okay, so I'm going to ask you those 2 questions. So I'm calling you back 8 minutes later and say, Ken, did you have a chance to watch those top 2 videos?
I did.
Awesome, dude. So listen, I've got 2 questions for you as I promised. The first question was, can you tell me from the information you received what you like most? And I would also like to know what you like least from watching those 2 short videos.
I like the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I really don't know anything about Forex.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. So when I asked him what he liked the most, what he's essentially going to do is he's going to tell me at least some of the ways that I can pull him into the project. In other words, he's kind of telling me what his hot buttons are. And the reason I asked him what he liked the least, which for many of you, that may go against your judgment. Why would you want to bring up something that someone doesn't like? Why would you want to make a talking point of that? Well, it's a very, very simple reason. In many cases, when people are reviewing anything, they often will jump to misunderstandings and conclusions that are not correct. And so what happens in their mind, they've created obstacles or hurdles that will prevent them from moving forward. And if it's an obstacle or hurdle that's actually incorrect, it's made on from a misjudgment, I can correct that and give him permission or her permission to move forward and get started. It's really that simple. It's so that you have all of the information you can possibly gather in the simplest possible way. So in this case, Ken, yeah, honestly, I'll tell you this right now. The simplicity of this, I agree with you. It's the reason that I was attracted to the project in the beginning, because I am familiar with the Forex market. I know how much money people can make in the Forex market, but I also know how much time it takes to learn how to trade in the Forex market. And I have literally 0.0% interest in learning how to trade Forex, but I want to make Forex profits. And that's why I started using the platform. And so I've been using the platform now for X number of months. And if you think automated Forex profits is something that you may at least be curious about, I can show you how I've been generating profits, and I can actually show you my profits from the inside of this system. Would that interest you at all?
It would.
Okay. So one of the reasons that I use the term curious when I'm asking Ken for commitment is just a little bit of very basic psychology. I don't want to box him into a corner. It's the exact same psychology that creates a behavior that all of us have acted out when we walk into a retail store, and before we're 2 feet into the store, a salesperson is asking us if they can help us. We haven't even had a chance to get in and have a look around, and they're already sort of approaching us. And so one of our methods to put those boundaries in place is automatically say, no, thank you, I'm just looking. Even if, I'd be curious to see how many people. I'd like you to type a 1 in the chat if you've had this experience. You walk into a store, you're specifically looking for something, you want help, and fortunately someone was ready to help you right away, but your instinct, your knee-jerk reaction when they say, can I help you, was to say, no, thank you, I'm just looking. I've done it. So I normally, you should be thrilled because you don't have to wait for a sales clerk to help you. They ask you right away and you push them away. And it's just an automatic reaction. Yeah, look at this. There's an awful lot of 1s showing up in the group. So by asking Ken if he's curious, would you at least be curious? I don't want to box Ken into a corner. I want to give him permission. I want to make it easy for him to say yes. That's it. Very, very basic stuff. And then at that point on, I would simply talk a little bit more about the platform. And I would then simply segue into, and Ken, you may be asking yourself this question, if this is a really simple to use, fully automated platform, and there's really nothing for anyone to do except plug it in and start making Forex gains, why on earth am I phoning you and telling you about it? So the answer to the question is very simple. I also am in a position, while I'm doing okay, I'm in a position where I really wanted to dig in, at least for the next few months, and build something new, building an additional income source for myself that I could run from my phone that only takes me an hour or 2 or 3 per week. That's really was one of my goals this year. And once I started using this platform and realized A, how simple it was, and B, that the product was extraordinary, and C, that there was a sharing model to this to accelerate my financial gains, I thought, well, listen, if I'm going to endorse anything, I might as well endorse something that I already have a testimony of. Then it was very easy for me to decide to start sharing this with others. And so, as you mentioned earlier in your call, let me ask you this question really quickly. Would an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a month make a really significant impact in your quality of life right now?
No.
It wouldn't be enough?
No.
Okay. What would make a difference? What would make enough of a difference for you that it would force you to pay attention to it?
Probably 4,000 to 5,000.
4,000 to 5,000 a month. Okay. So in this platform, if I could show you how you could create $4,000 to $5,000 a month and exactly what action steps would be required to do so, would you be interested in having a peek at that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. If that's the case, then I would encourage you to watch the third video on this page. It's at the bottom. It's 12 minutes long. And so what I'll do, if you still have time now, I'm going to phone you back in 12 minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, bud. Thanks very much. And thanks very much for your assistance, Ken.
Yeah.
So that's the process. And what I'm going to be doing for all of you is when this website gets rolled out, those very basic structure of the requests that you're going to make and how you're going to make them, you'll have all of those in a PDF. So you can actually print that PDF off. And when I was first teaching this stuff, first of all, I had to learn it. And the way I learned it was through failing. In fact, I was part of a home-based business that Ken was absolutely killing it in. And I got involved a little bit after him. And I'd heard some of the stories of him and others generating $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month and beyond. And that was something that I really wanted to accomplish. And when I first got started, though, I was a little on the stubborn side, thinking that I could figure this out quite easily. And it was through attempts and failures and attempts and failures and attempts and failures that ultimately had me asking these types of questions. How am I going to get people open to looking at this information? And that's really where this very simple rapport-based favor and script system was developed. And I'll tell you that it doesn't matter whether you have any comfort or aptitude communicating with others or you don't have. Every single person, regardless of their skill sets and regardless of their experience, can learn to master this and create extraordinary results for themselves. When I started using it, within a very, very short period of time, I would share this with 10 friends, and you would see very, very high things that all of your friends are doing, even though they don't tell you. When you phone and speak to them about anything, I promise you, one of the things that they're doing is looking at the things you're doing and looking at the things you're saying and asking themselves, am I interested in or would I be comfortable in doing or saying those same things? And in many cases, they're evaluating your actions unconsciously. They're not even aware that they're doing them. And if what you're doing seems very cumbersome or burdensome or challenging or scary, they'll just say no to you. And oftentimes they won't even have a real reason or not one that they can articulate for you. So that's it. That is how you can use a single website in such a way that it's incredibly easy to use and incredibly easy to share. So that leads us to, so now you have the tool, and that's going to lead us to a strategy. And this is entirely a leverage-based strategy. Now you can see on the screen in front of you, give me a thumbs up if you can see 2 rows of blue dots. All right. So one of these is you. It's representing you. And in this particular case, you're using a $500 trade package from CFX. And the 3 dots below are 3 friends that you've decided that you would like to work with in the platform. Now, these are 3 friends, though, that you shared the video with, video 1 and video 2 and video 3 at the bottom. Video 3, remember, being the rewards plan. So these 3 friends have all decided that they would also like to take advantage of the rewards plan and make money in bull capital and bear capital. You could theoretically have 5 or 6 or 7 people off to either side that you're not counting in the system because they've said, yeah, I'd love to get involved and I'd love to be a part of this, but I don't want to share this with anyone. I just want to earn this as a customer. So I'm not counting any of my customers in this 3-step success system because they've made it clear to me they're not going to share with anyone. To make this system thrive really effectively for you and others, you simply need 3 friends that are going to do exactly the same thing that you did. So you're going to pick those 3 friends and you're going to teach them to do exactly the same thing. That's it. So you're going to do first and you're going to teach second. And that's absolutely key. You'd be surprised how many people try to skip over the doing part and they just want to go straight to the teaching part because the doing is the scary part. You're in the trenches. You're putting yourself out there, potentially opening yourself up for criticism because you're reaching out. Some of you are actually only going to call 3 people, and all 3 people are going to say, I love this, I want to do it. So you're going to get no rejection. And some of you in this room, you're going to call 25 people before you have 3 people that say, I love this and I want to do it. So you're going to get plenty of experience with rejection. But again, if you do it in the way that we're going to roll out with the PDF scripts and that single URL page, it's going to be as painless as it can possibly be. And then after that, and the reason we select 3 friends and only 3 is because you still, even though we're stuck at home right now, you still have a finite, it's not unlimited your time. You still have a finite amount of time that you can then be a support person. So by sharing with 3 friends who are prepared to share with 3 friends, once you've signed those 3 friends into your business, then you stop looking. And all you're doing with all of your extra effort is helping them do exactly the same thing you've just done. Now, by the time the 3 steps are up, or at least by the time steps 1 and 2 are rolling, you can go back and start sharing this with other friends. But in the short term, while step 1 is being completed, I would really like you just to select 3 friends who want to run this platform with you in this 3-step success system and only focus on supporting 3. You can add more later on. So take a look at what's happened. You've earned fast start bonuses. Why 225? Well, remember, $500 is $150 into the rewards plan. That's the Academy purchase. And half of $150 is $75. $75 for a $500 trade package is your fast start bonus. $75 times 3 is $225. And then $90, how come? Because you have 9 plus 3, that's a total of 12 people in your unilevel, level 1 and level 2. Now, $75 as a fast start bonus and another $75 into your unilevel. Levels 1 and 2 are 10% levels. So you're earning $7.50 per person times 12 people equals $90. Very simple, okay? Now, step 2 is a little bit more challenging, but if you focus on keeping everything simple, that is, someone shares with 3 friends who share with 3 friends who share with 3 friends. That's it. So the workload isn't getting more difficult for any individual. It's exactly the same for every individual. I share with 3 friends who share with 3 friends. And then I want to make sure that my 3 friends are supporting their 3 in exactly the same way. So you're driving that growth into your business. What you're doing here is, instead of hoping to your lucky star that your business starts to grow, you're making it grow. That's it. It's just a difference in mindset. It's a difference in attitude. And so we're getting commitments from people right from the very beginning. Hey, listen, I'd love for you to be part of this. If you really want to accelerate your gains and you want to be part of the 3-step success system, this is what you have to do. You have to commit to sharing this with 3 friends and then helping them do the same. Okay, so everyone that's getting involved knows what they've signed up for. All right. So in step number 2, look what's happened. Levels 3 and levels 4. So remember, 3, 9, exponential growth, right? 27 on level 3, 81 on level 4. So that is about 100 people that have joined your business. You probably moved up a rank, and you now have $810 in your unilevel earnings from levels 3 and 4. But I'll tell you, the other thing that's happened is everyone in your level 1 and level 2, they've probably bumped themselves up to a 1K trade package. So that's triggered more gains for you. So let's take a look at the last step. It's exactly the same as step number 2. 3 friends are going to share with 3 friends. That's it. But take a look at what happens, because we're continuing to grow exponentially. 81 on step 4 turns to 243 on 5 and 729 on 6. So that's a $14,000 payday from those 2 levels just from unilevel. So that's a total of $15,000. Now, let's put a timeline on this, a probable timeline. Let's say that you allow for anyone to have 30 days, which is a ridiculous amount of time, 30 days to use that website and select the 3 people that want to work with them on the project. It's entirely possible you could say, well, you could do that in a week or 2 weeks. But if we said 30 days, for example, and then 30 days in level 2 for your 3 friends to find their 3, well, that means we're talking about 6 months. 6 months, and you've created a supplemental income for your source for yourself of $15,000. So you've certainly passed that $2,000 a month, and this is just scratching the surface of what's possible. What you've done is you've created a very solid group of people that know what they're doing and know how to drive their business forward just the same way you drove your business forward. Now, what's really interesting also is everybody on your step 2, which is about 100 people now, they've all moved up to $100 or a $1,000 trade package because of the growth that's happened in step 3. And everyone in your step 1 has probably moved themselves up to a $2,000 trade package. So you've gotten paid on step 1 twice since your first time, and step 2 one additional time since your first time. Let's take a look at this model if everyone's getting started with a 1K trade package. So you'd see your fast start bonuses are $450, and your unit level bonuses on level 1 and 2 would be $180. And as step 2 gets completed, you'd be $1,600, and as step 3 gets completed, an additional $29,000 for a total of $31,000. And I want to run you through one more model. If everyone got started at a $5,000 trade package, where your fast start bonuses are $2,250, level 1 and 2 unit level is $900, $8,100 for step 2, and $145,000 for step 3, for a total of about $160,000. Now, the reason I wanted to show these to you is if you teach a very simple track that everyone can understand, then that dramatically increases their chances of running on that track successfully. And that's the importance of systems. This is no different than the McDonald's system we talked about, where teenagers can handle your entire business operations. And that's exactly what we're looking to accomplish here. Very, very simple track that anyone can run on. Why is that important? Well, because if this growth continues, everyone will end up on a 1K package. Everyone will end up on a 2K and a 3K and a 5K package. So these types of numbers are not only possible, they're actually inevitable. You will actually reach them. In fact, I'll just share a little exercise with you. If you saw there's some strange phenomenon where your business grew step 1, step 2, step 3, so you only grew to 6 levels of depth in the unit level and nothing grew past that, but everyone still moved their way through the trade package ladders all the way through to $100,000 trade packages. Did you know that just from this group here, this size, your earnings would be over $2.5 million? So from something that you could have built within 6 months, probably less than that. So that's the importance of systemizing everything. I want to talk about one more thing before we wrap up, because many of you, when you start to share the benefits of CFX with others, one of the things that they do, which is a very smart thing for them to do, they go hit Google and they start doing some research. I would certainly do it. I would do a lot more than do my research on Google, though. That's actually not where proper research is done. But that's neither here nor there. This is where most people go because they just don't know any better. So one of the things, of course, that you find on Google searches is some very powerful and constructive reviews of CFX and testimonials of members that are doing incredibly well with the platform. But the stuff that really stands out is the opposite. It's the stuff that has warnings on it or scam alerts on it or any number other of headings and subheadings that really draw people's attention. So it's really important you understand why those are there. Because if you took the time to review the reviews, especially the negative reviews, you would learn by reading them that the people writing the reviews are not even CFX members. So this is not even a group of people that got involved in the platform, were hard done by in some horrific way, and then were sharing a horrible experience. No, it's not the case at all. These are people that have no experience with CFX, and you can tell, in fact, from reading most of the reviews from the perspective that there's a great deal of speculation happening and a lot of cursory inspection of how the platform operates and really no personal or detailed experience. What happens, and the reason that these are made is very simple. You've heard the expression that bad news travels faster than good news. You heard how Facebook had to totally change its global policy on clickbait and fake news, bad news stories that were just causing people to click through because it captures people's attention. If they see some horrific title, it's like, it's bizarre, man. It's really bizarre. It's like staring at the car accident as you drive by. They're clicking on these things to investigate further. And so the people behind these sites are experts at it. And really what they're focusing on is building databases. Databases are worth a lot of money. Data is the new gold in this era. But the other thing they're doing is they'll have paid advertisements or they'll have other projects And you'll find at the bottom of the review will be something like, if you like the look of this platform, referring to the project they're reviewing, in this case CFX, but you want something easier or more permanent or more this or more that, have a look at X. And they'll just simply redirect you to something else. It's a very simple and very basic formula, but people fall for it all the time. So create a review that's entirely speculative, not based on facts at all, and then simply redirect you to another project because they're trying to project themselves as a reviewer as an authority figure. I know some of these reviewers, and some of you who are online experts know some of them as well. The people that have some of the most watched reviews are people that I know. I would consider them certainly acquaintances, if not friends. And I mean, they know less about CFX than anyone on this call does. I promise you, they know nothing about the project. But that doesn't stop them from saying whatever it is that they want to say. So how do they pick companies to review? Well, very simply, they go to a site like Alexa.com and they have a look at what sites are getting ranked and how they're getting ranked in what parts of the world, what's spiking, and then that becomes their list that they're going to start creating reviews for. It's very, very simple. It's not personal. The only people that take it personally, of course, are the people that are part of the platform that they're reviewing. But this is just a money-making project for them. It's nothing more. Now, if you take a look at the screen, the computer screen on the right-hand side, in fact, they're not even hiding the fact that they're trying to collect data. First thing you see before the review is a giveaway. Enter your name, enter your email address. It's just a money-making site. It's nothing more. Now, how do you manage this? Because that's ultimately all that really matters. And how you manage it is just as easy as how you get someone to watch videos 1 and 2 on the new website. When I finish with Ken, he's watched video number 3, and I've called him back, and we've talked about the bull side and the rewards plan. I say, now, Ken, you're probably going to want to do a little bit more research, a little more due diligence. I'm going to tell you what you're going to find when you go out there. And I'm simply going to tell him. And when I do so, what it does is it completely negates the impact of finding those sites, because I told him that they were going to be there. So I said, you're going to find some amazing reviews of the project. You're going to have some really strong testimonials of people that have been using it for 8, 9, and 10 months. Some people will even though they're not supposed to, they'll even give you a tour of their back offices and show you how they've been earning. On the flip side, you're going to find all sorts of hate mongering and fake news. Of course, you understand why those things are made, and I'll give them a 30-second crash course of what we just talked about. And so what will happen is Ken will start doing his searching. He'll find a negative review site. He goes, oh, there's one of those things, John, warned me about that. And that's it. It's in one ear and it's out the other. So it takes all the steam, all the momentum, all the negative energy completely away from the experience for him, because he's been forewarned. So with that, I want to thank everyone very much for your time and attention.